Hey, folks, welcome into the 49ers Report. I am Cam Rogers. How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go through the latest 49ers rumors here as training camp is upon us. And Richard Sherman, is he not healthy as we stand? Two Jetheads here. Where is this coming from? Well, the Monday Morning Quarterback reported that Sherman was running at full speed at a special camp that he was hosting at Stanford, but then was walking with a slight limp after the workout. Now, there's no reason to panic, as having a limp after a workout is somewhat common. Maybe he's sore, maybe it's just a cramp, maybe it's just part of the rehab process here for Sherman, but the fact that he had a whole day of working out is probably more notable than anything else here. I would assume the 49ers will be careful with their usage of Richard Sherman during training camp. So firmly in the rumor category for now. We'll have more information about this once training camp actually happens and we see Richard Sherman on the practice football field. But for now, let's just keep it in a sense of reality here, sense of realism. It's not the worst thing in the world, but still, I do want to report it to you guys because, of course, it would be irresponsible of me to not mention this, all right? So, two Jetheads there. Let's go to the next rumor on the list. Jerick McKinnon, breakout season coming. I feel pretty good about this. Three Jetheads, faithful, if you will. Now, McKinnon has been at the center of many positive storylines and headlines out there of late. KNBR Radio was one of the recent ones. And McKinnon has never eclipsed, how about this, 600 rushing yards or 1,000 scrimmage yards in his career. That's going to change in the Kyle Shanahan offense. In Minnesota, he was always playing behind the likes of Adrian Peterson and Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray. Jerick McKinnon played second fiddle during his tenure in Minnesota. That ain't the case here when you take a look at the depth chart at running back for San Francisco. It's Jerick McKinnon and then everybody else. That's how I view it. He is the guy in the backfield. Yes, Matt Breida can show some flashes out there. Mostert is good on special teams, and I don't know if Joe Williams actually makes the 53-man roster, ladies and gentlemen. So Jerick McKinnon very much in position to break out at running back. You look at the history, folks. Kyle Shanahan got 1,600 yards out of Alfred Morris in his rookie campaign, all right? So that's all you need to know in terms of why Jerick McKinnon will perform well for San Francisco. Next up on the list, Reuben Foster. Is he going to be the gold standard of linebacker play for many years? Three Jetheads here. I actually do feel good about this, especially going back to his rookie campaign when Pro Football Focus gave him an elite grade. He graded out as the fourth best linebacker among all of the players at that respective position last season. And yes, he'll miss the first two games due to suspension. Big whoop. Not the worst thing in the world. Could have been a lot worse, in fact. And Bucky Brooks said that Foster will be the model of linebacking play for many years. And like I said, I believe it. He can make the play calls. He can do the adjustments. His instincts are top-notch. Just imagine 49ers fans out there being spoiled with Fred Warner and Reuben Foster as elite linebackers for the next decade plus. Keep that in mind. All right, let's get to rumor number 4 on the list. Jimmy Garoppolo going to become a top 5 quarterback by the time the 2018 season wraps up. Two Jetheads here, firmly in the rumor category. Where is this coming from? Well, Peter King is doubling down on his praise for Jimmy Garoppolo. You may recall the previous episode of the 49ers Report. I was talking about how Peter King was saying that Garoppolo is the most compelling story of this season. Now he is saying that Garoppolo is going to be a top 5 quarterback by the time next season is over. This is easily the most praise I have seen for Jimmy Garoppolo so far this offseason. And you guys know my feelings on Garoppolo. I think he will become a top 10 quarterback this season, but top 5, I can't give that any more than two Jetheads here because he's only had a handful of starts here, folks. I mean, the sample size is small, and yes, the NFL is a watered-down league in terms of talent at the quarterback position, but top 5, yeah, that's a bit of a reach for me for now, so I'm going to hold off on that. Now, in terms of Garoppolo being a top 10 quarterback, let me know in comments. Give me a 1 for yes and 2 for no. I want to hear from you guys, so get those comments in, and I'll be tracking what you guys say. All right, folks, could the 49ers sign a big-time pass rusher next offseason? I'll get to that rumor, but first, a word from our friends at Game Time.
Did you know that ticket prices can actually go down right before the game? That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time tracks ticket prices in real time from thousands of trusted sellers, then shows you all the best deals. So we can get tickets at the last minute for up to 60% off. Download Game Time now.
All right, well, the 49ers signed Ziggy Ansah of the Detroit Lions in 2019, not this year. 2 Jet heads firmly in the rumor category, this coming from Niners Wire. Now, Ansah will be playing on the franchise tag this season for the Lions, but he could test free agency in 2019. He did have 12 sacks in 2017, including 6 over the final 2 games. Now, he was also drafted by Martin Mayhew, who's the current 49ers senior personnel executive. Now, if Jeremiah Atachu and Solomon Thomas don't make any strides this season in terms of pass rushing ability, there is reason to believe that the 49ers are going to feel forced to go into the free agency market and find some sort of adequate pass rusher to disrupt opposing quarterbacks in the 2019 season. So keep this in mind, as I know you guys are excited for 2018 and all, but maybe the 49ers dip into free agency next offseason at the edge rusher position. All right, next up, Ahkello Witherspoon. Is he going to be a top-line cornerback in the NFL this year? I'm faithful in it. 3 Jet heads. He was pretty good last year in his rookie campaign. Pro Football Focus gave him a solid grade, and in 12 games, he made 9 starts after being drafted in the 3rd round from Colorado. 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, a forced fumble, 28 tackles in his first season in the NFL. So there's momentum, and I talked about this last week. He could be in for a breakout type of season if the chips fall his way. With Richard Sherman on the other side, a lot of teams are going to be going right at Ahkello, which means a lot of opportunity for Witherspoon to create some plays. And then rumor number 7, this one is building momentum for sure. Josh Garnett to be traded. Still with 2 Jet heads here, but the buzz continues to swirl around the former first-round selection from the Trent Baalke era. And that's actually part of the reason why it makes sense Garnett could be traded, because current GM John Lynch literally has no loyalty to Josh Garnett. He didn't invest in him via the draft. There's no reason to keep him in that regard. John Lynch does not owe Josh Garnett anything per se. And then when you have Jonathan Cooper waiting in the wing to perhaps become that starting right guard, it tells me Josh Garnett could be expendable. Now, you take a look at the guard depth chart right now. I think it's Tomlinson and Cooper as your favorites. Garnett right on the outside. Person provides some versatility. Magnuson could develop into a solid player as well. But Garnett as a trade target could happen, folks, and the 49ers might get an edge rusher in return, so stay tuned for that. All right, next up on the list, Jimmy Ward's role right now. Is it unknown? 4 Jet heads. I have no idea what the 49ers are going to do with this guy in training camp and then in the regular season, to be honest with you. We're talking about the defense's highest paid player with no clear-cut role. He got some reps at the cornerback position during minicamp because Richard Sherman was on the sidelines, and there's been some buzz that maybe Jimmy Ward could compete with Adrian Colbert for that free safety position. As of now, for the depth chart's sake, I'm going to put him at cornerback right behind K'Wan Williams, the starting slot corner. I just have no idea what the 49ers are going to do with Jimmy Ward. It's honestly a sad situation here. A guy who's getting paid so much, and we're sitting here wondering how the 49ers are going to use him. And maybe best case scenario for Jimmy Ward, he's just a fill-in guy. He's a versatile option that you can plug and play in different spots in that secondary. But if that's it for Jimmy Ward, that ain't enough for the 49ers, and maybe they move on at some point down the line. All right, so that's the deal with Jimmy Ward. Moving on to the final rumor here. Could the pass rush improve this season? 3 Jet heads on this one. Robert Saleh is pretty confident in the pass rush as we stand, and there's a lot of pressure here on the likes of Solomon Thomas and Eric Armstead to step up. I'm confident Solomon Thomas will, And I'm also not sleeping on Jeremiah Atachu either. I think he could make a big impact for this team. And meanwhile, Cassius Marsh could maybe snag 5 or 6 sacks in 2018 as well. But for Solomon Thomas, he's a former number 3 overall selection. He has the most pressure out of anyone on that defense to make some plays and be disruptive against quarterbacks in 2018.